Okay, so we said that in principle, trade can lead to benefits for all parties. So what we want to do is to show that, to show that's true, but also to show how comparative and absolute advantage can work using production possibility frontiers. So let's imagine again we have two countries. We'll have two relatively simple goods. It doesn't really matter what they are. Chairs. I'm feeling very imaginative. And flags, because I'm in a French classroom. And let's imagine that we have one country that can produce with one worker. So we're looking at kind of relative productivity. They can produce either 10 flags or 20 chairs. And we're going to assume constant opportunity cost for convenience. Country B can produce either 15 flags or 45 chairs. So this is country A, this is country B. So the first thing you'll note is that country B has absolute advantage in both. Output per worker in flags is 15 in country B versus 10 in country A. Output per worker of chairs in country B is 45. It's only 20 in country A. However, the opportunity cost ratio is different in each country. In A, we can see that they can produce either 10 flags. If they produce 10 flags, then they can't produce 20 chairs. So they can produce 10 flags cost 20 chairs, or 20 chairs cost 10 flags, whichever way around you do it. Versus country B, where either they produce 15 flags, or they produce 45 chairs, so 15 flags cost 45 chairs. So in country A, one flag therefore costs 20 over 10 equals 2 chairs. Whereas in country B, one flag costs 45 over 15 equals 3 chairs. So although country B has absolute advantage in both, one flag costs 2 chairs in country A. So country A has comparative advantage in flags. And if we reverse it, we can reverse the numbers if you like, but if country A has comparative advantage in flags, then country B has comparative advantage in chairs. So chairs is a comparative advantage for country B. So can we trade? And the answer is because the opportunity cost ratios are different, yes we can. So we said that in country A, if we take country A, one flag costs 2 chairs. So A, they make a flag, it costs 2 chairs. They head off to country B and say, hey B, I'll sell you a flag. If you like, I'll sell you a flag. And B says, okay, how much? Because in B, a flag costs 3 chairs. And they might do a deal and they say, well, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll do a deal of one flag for 2.5 chairs. And what we can see is that both countries are benefiting. Because country A makes a flag that costs 2 chairs and they sell it for 2.5 chairs. Country B buys a flag that if they'd made it for themselves would have cost 3 chairs. Therefore, we can see both countries are benefited. But we can show that using the production possibility frontiers if we like. What I'm going to do is separate them out just so it's really clear. So we said in country A, here are flags, here are chairs. We said they could produce either 10 or 20 in B, and then we said they could produce either 15 flags or they could produce 45 chairs. So let's take our deal, and what we said is let's imagine that A decides it's going to produce here, it's going to make they simply say I'm not going to make any chairs, I'm going to make 10 flags and I'm going to make no chairs. And what they do is they say, well, I'm going to take some of those flags and I'm going to sell them to B. And we said that our deal was one flag for 2.5 chairs. So let's imagine that A sells 5 of its flags. So instead of having 10, they now only have 5. B is going to sell them 2.5 chairs per flag. So they're going to end up with, that's the 10 chairs that they would have got if they'd made them themselves. But because they sell them to B, who's paying more, they actually get 5 times 2.5 chairs equals 12.5 chairs. Not quite sure what half a chair is, but anyway. So they're able to consume here at point X outside of their production possibility frontier. Likewise, we can see that country B sacrifices 12.5 chairs. Normally they would have only got about 4 flags for that, but instead they get 5. So again, by sacrificing some chairs and selling them to country A, they end up outside of their production possibility frontier. So what we can see is that both countries are gaining from trade. Each one of them, by specialising in what it's best at, is able to operate outside its production possibility frontier, and global output is going to be greater than it would otherwise have been. To show that, the idea of global output, I'm going to pick a simpler example. Let's imagine now we have, again, 2 countries. We'll have, on the one hand, we'll have flags. On the other hand, we'll have chairs. We'll have country A, we'll have country B. And we'll imagine that, again, with one worker, A can produce 10 flags or 20 chairs, whereas B can produce 20 flags or 10 chairs. So here the absolute and comparative advantage, they just line up. What's going to happen is that A is going to specialise in chairs and B is going to specialise in flags. But let's suppose, to start with, there is no trade. And what they do is, therefore, they put half their resources into each good. If that was the case, then what's going to happen is that A produces 5 chairs. If it puts half its resources into chairs, or each worker spends half their time, flags, each worker spends half their time making flags, they'd make 5. If they spend their other half of their time, if they spend all their time making chairs, they get 20. If they spend half their time making chairs, they get 10. Likewise here is 10 and 5. Total output would be 15 and 15 if we divide our time equally between the 2 goods. But now let's imagine that instead we specialise. In A, each worker specialises in producing chairs, so they just produce 20. In B, each worker specialises in producing flags, so they produce 20. They produce no flags and 20 chairs, they produce 20 flags and no chairs. Total output is, in total, 20 flags and 20 chairs. So if we spread our resources, producing the thing that we're not that good at, global output is only 15 flags and 15 chairs, whereas if we specialise, global output is 20 flags and 20 chairs. So therefore, by countries specialising in the thing in which they have comparative advantage, we've shown that A, both countries gain, because we can operate, we can do a deal between the 2 opportunity cost ratios. Both countries can have more than they would have been able to before. And overall, because each country specialises in what it's most efficient at, global output is greater. Hence, trade should contribute towards global economic growth.